So we're on page 7, at the bottom of the page.
Tefillat Bet HaMidrash.
Tefillat Bet HaMidrash, Kodem V'achar HaLimud. Saying the prayer of the Bet HaMidrash, of the house of study, before and after you study. Nichnas the Bet HaMidrash, someone who enters the Bet HaMidrash. So, here. V'chen hayotze mi Bet HaMidrash, when someone leaves the Bet HaMidrash. Yitpalel Tfilat Rabbi Nechunya ben Akaneh. He should pray this prayer for Rabbi Nechunya. Hamvoeret b'Masechet Brachot, which is explained in Tractate Brachot. And if I was writing the book, I would just copy and paste it right here. But of course they didn't.
That's what I was expecting.
Volume,
Turn the page.
The one volume of the Gemara that I don't have here is the Masechet Brachot. So I'm just going to pull it up on my phone if that's okay with you.
Who says smartphones are evil?
Right? Not me. So before we learn, the prayer that is said is, Yehi ratzon milfanecha. May be your will, Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu, my God and the God of my fathers. Shelo yerad dvar takana al yadi, v'lo kashel b'dvar halacha. That I should not make any mistakes, and I should not, especially make a mistake, I should not stumble in the teaching of halacha. V'yismechu bi chaverai, and the people that I study with should be happy. Well, happy at what? At the Torah insights that I'm contributing to the conversation. Shelo amar al tameh tahor, I should never say that something that is impure is pure. V'lo al tahor tameh, not something that is pure is impure. V'lo al mutar asur, and I should never say that something which is permitted is prohibited. V'lo al asur mutar, and not anything which is prohibited is permitted. V'lo kashlu chaverai bidvar halacha, and I also pray for my friends that they should not make any mistakes in halacha. V'esmach behem, and I'll be happy in them. Ki Hashem yitan chokhmah mipiv v'da'at v'ran, Hashem will give wisdom from His mouth. God and I open my eyes, v'abita niflaot mitoratecha, and may my eyes see wonders in your Torah. That is a verse from Tehillim. At the end of the study, we say, Modem milfanecha, I give thanks to you, Hashem, shesamta chelkim yoshvei bet HaMidrash, that you made my portion from those who sit and study Torah. V'lo samta chelkim yoshvei kranot, and you didn't put my portion with those who just sit idly by in the corners. Shani mashkim v'hem mashkimim, because I wake up and they wake up. Ani mashkim d'vei Torah, I wake up for the words of Torah. V'hem mashkimim d'dvarim b'telim, and they wake up for words of empty words. Ani amel v'hem amelim, I work hard and they work hard. Ani amel u'mkabel sachar, I work hard and receive a reward for my Torah study. V'hem amelim v'nam mekabelim sachar, and they work hard but they don't receive any reward because they're not studying Torah. Ani ratz v'hem ratzim, I run and they run. Ani ratz l'chayei ha'olam haba, I run to the next world. V'hem ratzim l'ber shachat, and they don't. And then there's a verse that ends off with. The last blessing is not as relevant as the first. The first one is important, and there's a few things to learn from it. My friends should be happy with me. I think the first thing you see here is that learning Torah in a group is important. Like we mentioned in the earlier halakha. It's not just don't just learn Torah on your own. It's an experience that we do together. The reason we study Torah together is the same reason why doctors publish their research in peer review magazines. Because they want other people to critique their work. Because what is the point? Listen, there are some people who they purposely don't want other people to critique their work. But someone who's a real researcher, whatever field, whatever profession, they expect that when they put out an article that it will be challenged. And if you live in a world where when you put out an article and it cannot be challenged, or you don't accept that other people can challenge the things that you say, you're not a truth seeker. Unfortunately, we see this in the rabbinic community. There are many people who say, how could you say this when Rabbi so-and-so says why? What kind of question is that? Oh, because Rabbi so-and-so is so great. Can great people make mistakes? Everybody can make a mistake. So once I told the rabbi, yeah, but he's a great rabbi, and you're not you. He was talking to one of us, one of the students. He is just a small rabbi. He said, I don't know how you measure rabbis. He said, if it's by fame, not everyone who's famous is a good person to follow. But let's assume that he's a great rabbi and you're a small rabbi. Sometimes because someone is so great, they don't have the time to look into that little detail the same way you did. See, they're busy dealing with the whole world. You are dealing with a little, the example we're talking about, that we say a blessing before we wash our hands. Like the Shulchan Aruch, but it's clear, it sounds like a novel opinion in the world of Judaism. So if Rabbi so-and-so, let's give a name, if Rabbi Ovadia Yosef didn't do that, so who gave you the right to do that? The question is, it's not that Rabbi Ovadia Yosef did do. He was involved in big questions like, Yom Kippur War is over. We have thousands of dead bodies that we don't know who they're married to. Let's get all these women to be able to get remarried. That's a big question. He didn't have time to sit here and break apart little halachot and the laws of washing your hands. And with the audacity, Raphael added one sentence here that I'm only quoting from him because I would never say. He said it is possible in one area of halakha, even if it's one sentence of halakha, to become more of an expert than the greater rabbis in the world. If you put enough effort in this one chapter of halakha, it could be that the knowledge that you have in that specific area is greater than what the other people have. So when
pushing through,
when I came to yeshiva, we all wore white strings on our tzitzit. But one year, our parents disappeared for a week. Then he shows up again with blue strings. I said, Rabbi, where'd you go? He said, he decided. People asked him, is Kehillat, is the blue string that they discovered, that the real thing or not the real thing? He said, everyone asked him. He said, I don't know. I didn't have a chance to check it out. So he went up. He went to the factory. He spent a day there. He sat with them. He went back another day to ask questions, another day to see the process. He said after 3 days spending there, he's absolutely positive that this is the real thing. He says, Mashiach will come with these kind of blue strings. So he's not that kind of person to make such crazy statements. But this was, he spent time. He came back to the table. That's what he told everybody. But all the other rabbis, says the other rabbis didn't have 3 days to take off from yeshiva to go look into it themselves. Because don't judge them that they don't know. It's not that they don't know. They didn't have the time that I had to go look into it. So in this area, I know more than them. And then we asked the Rabbi, so which way should we tie the strings? Because there are a number of different opinions as to how you tie the strings. So that I really didn't have time to research. So that you do your own research and you make that decision on your own. But that's the way of Torah. And so when we say my friends should be happy with me, because you're studying in a group, and you sometimes have that person in the group that always says, in yeshiva, we had a guy used to call it the peanut gallery. You know? The people who everything they add to the conversation has nothing to do with anything on topic. It's always because they want to hear themselves talk. Sure, how are you?
Hello. Come in.
Do you want to learn, or you want to say you didn't meet for a minute?
No, I was passing by, so somebody outside, and has never been here. I'm sorry.
No,
sit down.
I'll be here for a few minutes. Yeah, sure, go
Welcome to KSH. You leave whenever you need to go, Rabbi. Okay. And so when we learn Torah, we have to make sure that we're open to the conversation on the table, that people should tell us, listen, that's not something that should be said. This is not. And you have Baruch Hashem, when in an open community where people learn Torah, where people are learning, they expect that the other person around the conversation, that's something that should be said, that shouldn't be said. They argue with each other. I was once studying with my brother in a band. It was like a synagogue that nobody was there. I was there, and there was like a person came to clean the synagogue, and we were arguing about something. It was Masechet Megillah we were studying, and he was screaming, and I was screaming. It was a lot of fun. But the person came and said, hey, are you guys okay? Should we call the police? Like, are we? Should you want to sit? You could sit at different tables. There are a lot of tables here. So, no, we're not fighting with each other. That's the way you study. If you study on your own, then you don't know anything else. You have to hear what other people say about the things that you say. And then the prayer is Shalom. Should not make any mistakes. You could take a look, by the way, if you wanted to.
Is it all right?
Yeah, the kids' room, the kitchen. I know why you're here. And so, the whole question is, I don't want to make any mistakes when I study Torah. And Hashem, I'm asking you, if I'm learning this for the truth, I don't want to get stuck on something. Sometimes you think that you're right, and then your whole world crumbles because you realize that what you thought was correct was incorrect. So asking, when I study, please let me find the truth. Who helps you find the truth? And the people sitting around you. There's a question as to why this prayer stopped being said in the Jewish community. And the theory that many have is that when the Jewish community stopped dealing exclusively in halakha. Today you can go to a class where nobody even talks about halakha. So it would be inappropriate to start the prayer for that class with, Hashem, help me to not make any mistakes in halakha. Nobody asks you halakha questions anyway, so what do you don't have to worry about this. There should be a different prayer. And there have been other authorities over the years that have composed alternative prayers for people who study other things. But I think the bottom line is you don't have to read it out of a book. When you come to sit at the table, say, Hashem, learning is not an intellectual pursuit. It is, but not only. There are famous professors in Berlin before the Holocaust that were former yeshiva boys, and they left observance completely, but they still liked to study Talmud. And they would sit over lunch and their ham sandwich, without their kippot on, they would study Talmud. Because for them, the study of Torah was only an intellectual pursuit.
Incongruous.
But we have to make sure that the study of Torah is more than that. To say a prayer, I'm sitting down, Hashem, help me, because this is not just about my brain. You know who brought this to the world? I have Rabbi Hajjaj here now. The Hasidic movement brought us to Harav Peretz. I was once sitting with him, and he said that, in his opinion, and you could get upset with him for saying such a thing. In his opinion, the reason why after the war he felt that so many Hasidim continued their observance in Judaism, as opposed to other groups of Jews, was because of the fire and passion with which they observed mitzvot, unlike other communities. If you go to a Hasidic matzah bakery, they're singing Hallel, they're dancing, they're jumping. If you go to another matzah bakery, it's like a quiet, it's like a funeral almost. It's quiet. If you go to do Birkat al-Vana, blessing of the moon, and people are dancing, and there's a simcha, there's a certain joy that goes along with every mitzvah. Almost too much. Sometimes I tell my wife, it's not such a big deal. You have to make a whole commotion about it. In her house, every mitzvah is like a celebration. Not everything. We're just taking out the trash after Shabbat. It's not something so exciting. But that passion gives a person an understanding that the mitzvot are not just about me. It's not just about I have to be religious, I have to do this. It's about a real experience, and when you experience that, you're much less quick to let it go, because it wasn't just intellectual. It had more to it. In fact, there are many videos that go around YouTube that you could find of people from Borough Park, from Williamsburg, from Mea Shearim. Even I saw a clip from all people who are ex citizens of Mea Shearim. Today they don't look like the Hasidic. They don't have fuzzy hats, not long clothes. They're just like regular Israelis living in Tel Aviv. But they still get together every Friday night, and they have a YouTube channel in which they upload their videos. They sing, KSH Kollel, Doika. They sing all these songs in a real Hasidic accent. They sound like they're Hungarian Jews from Hungary, but they don't look the part. And for them, it's not a matter. They, as much as they today don't consider themselves observant, they can't give up that Friday night that they had. It had nothing to do with being religious. They had everything to do with an experience that I have to have. The same thing as with learning. When we turn a Torah into a prayer, that's a very important thing. You turn it into something higher than that. The Ari Kadosh on the top of page 8. Not really the top, one sentence underneath. V'Rabbeinu Ha'ari, our Rabbi the Arizal. You notice in most Sephardi books we don't call him the Arizal, because what does Zal mean? Zichron Levracha, that he passed away. Now, of course, we believe he passed away, but many prefer just to say Rabbeinu Ha'ari. We don't want to focus on the fact that he's dead. In fact, in some Kabbalistic works, like if you look in the works of Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel, oftentimes he'll refer to him as Rabbeinu Ha'ari Chai. It's like the living line, not the dead one. Rabbeinu Ha'ari היה אומר תפילה זו בכל בוקר. The Arizal used to say this prayer every morning. והיה אומר אחר כך פסוק, and he would say, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה. That Hashem is the one who gives wisdom. Because sometimes when you study Torah, you can become a little arrogant. You know how much I know? Who do you think you are? I told you the story. Somebody once hung up the phone on me, a rabbi. I had to ask him. He was making someone in my community's life miserable. Not from San Diego, so don't start guessing for me. Okay? And not in San Diego. He was in LA, but LA there's so many rabbis you could guess on your own. And when I said, how could you do this to somebody? He tells me, you're just a community rabbi. I'm a rabbi who sits on a bed din. So hung up the phone on me. There's a famous story about a tzaddik named Rabbi David of Lelov, the Lelover Rebbe. I think there's still a Lelover Hasidim somewhere. You know Lelover Hasidim? I think I once heard the Lelover Rebbe somewhere. Rabbi David of Lelov was the founder of the Hasidic movement. And listen, I'm not approving of this attitude and halachically, but this was what was done by tzaddikim, so I'm not going to argue with it either. Rabbi David of Lelov had a famous custom. He would study a lot of Torah and pray a lot before he started praying. And he once walked into the synagogue, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he starts putting on his tefillin and his talit, and he's about to start Baruch She'amar, and there was a mitanaged, an opponent of the Hasidic movement. He said, "Are you the famous Rabbi David of Lelov?" He said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "You're just putting on your tefillin now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? What kind of rabbi are you?" He looks at him and says, "My dear friend, tell me, when did you wake up and put on tefillin?" He said, "Me? I started praying at 7 o'clock this morning, and I've been learning Torah non-stop until right now." He says, "Let me ask you, you've been doing this for 8 hours?" I said, 8 hours. He said, "Yeah, well, you were still in bed. I was already praying and learning." Rabbi David Lelov said, "When you started doing this and you put on your tefillin, did you say, 'I'm doing this b'shem kol Yisrael,' in the name of all the Jewish people?" And he said, "Because if you did it in the name of all the Jewish people, then at 7 o'clock in the morning, I also put on tefillin because you did it for me." He said, "But if you did it only for yourself, to show how religious you are, so you think Hashem actually cares you put on tefillin at 7 o'clock in the morning?" Sometimes this arrogance that comes is because I think that I accomplished something. He says, the Ari HaKadosh added, Ki Adonai yitel chokhmah mipiv. It's Hashem who gives you this wisdom. Don't think that it's because of you. I had a roommate in yeshiva when the Kalv Rebbe came to Baltimore. So he wasn't allowed onto the yeshiva campus, so we went to go see him somewhere else. And Hashem should send him refresh them because the Kalv was really not well. But if you remember when he was here, he would talk to you and rub your cheeks. And one of my roommates, he took him and he rubbed his Jewish rabbi. He says, you know, you're a very smart boy. He says, yeah. He says, you study Torah faster than anybody else in your class. You can. He's like, yeah. He said, you are the most arrogant yeshiva boy I've met in my whole life. All of a sudden, he's not saying yeah. He said, but I'm not telling you this to embarrass you. He says, realize that Hashem gave you a gift. And you could either use this gift to help all your other classmates who are not as smart as you, or you can use this gift to become the most arrogant person that nobody wants. He says, that's a decision that only you can make. And I have to tell you, I met this boy recently in Israel. I walking the street, I hadn't seen him in 5 years. And he really turned into a different person. He really became a real man. The pasuk in Tehillim, Gal enai, open my eyes, v'abita niflaot mitoratecha. David HaMelech says, Hashem, just open my eyes and I'll see the wonders in your Torah. What does that mean? Sometimes the things in the Torah, we look at it, we read the same parasha every week, we read it, but we don't realize that. And then something clicks in our head and everything connects and we get a new understanding of something we've learned for so many times.
It's saying like it comes from above, not from our own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is why prayer is important. When I study, I say, Hashem, I want to know more than just what meets my eye. I want to be able to see things in a whole different light. And sometimes you feel it. Sometimes you're reading something, you're learning something, you're praying something, and you get this like light bulb that goes off in your head. And you realize, wow, there's so much depth here. There's so much more that I didn't know. V'hu hadin, this is also the same halakha. Im lomed bichidut bebeito, if you're studying alone in your house. So you're not coming to the house of study. You're not coming to yeshiva. You're not coming to the synagogue. You're not coming to a class. Sheyesh lomar tefillah zo, you should say this prayer. How much more so is this true for a Torah scholar who has reached the level of being able to answer halachic questions? Because this prayer is now important. You don't want to make a mistake. You know, why is it so easy to study Talmud all day? Do you know? People like study Gemara. They think it's the most important. There's no decision to make. It doesn't make a difference what you say. You didn't do it. Nothing happened. Big deal. So you read it like the Ritba, you read it like the Rashba, who cares how you read the Gemara? But if you're studying Shulchan Aruch and you make a decision and that's incorrect, all of a sudden you just allowed somebody to eat something that wasn't kosher. You're dealing with sugya. Now there's a new thing going around the market called cricket protein. I don't know if I've seen granola bars that have cricket protein inside. They decided the best way to get protein is by eating crickets. So the question came in front of me about
Makes you feel
what is the halachic status? What is the halachic status of cricket protein? I'll tell you the truth. I haven't answered the question yet. And so why are you taking so long to answer my question? You can call somebody else. Understand? For me, it's taking a while. So why? But you're the one who holds that gelatin is allowed. I said, not me. Most of the poskim on earth hold the gelatin as kosher, regardless of its source. The majority, except for two. The famous one being Moshe Feinstein. Rabbi Yosef ate gelatin that came from pigs. Don't jump out of your seats. We were doing this already for hundreds of years. In Morocco, the Chida says that his rabbi, they used to dye candies with donkey blood because it's dried already. You hear things like carmine, insect coloring. We already had the Tolam Chadash. They already allowed these things hundreds of years ago. I'm not telling you want to eat it. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that you're allowed to. So then why are you taking so long? Because cricket protein is the difference between me telling you you could eat something and say shakol, that was a nice piece of chocolate, or I just ate a bug and I got 7 biblical prohibitions and the one who's going to go to Gehenna for it is Yoni Halevy. That's the difference here. And so when you weigh halachot, you can't just throw something out of your head. You're making a real difference. And that's why specifically before we study halakha, you have to say, Hashem, please bless me that I should not make mistakes. I will make mistakes, but bless me that I won't.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What about, there's a Chinese medicine made from deer horn that's removed, but it has some blood in it.
Correct. I've been asked about this before.
Is it kosher? Well, of course, it's a medicine. It's not.
Correct. It would depend. I'll think first and foremost, it would depend on how you take it. Things that are swallowed are very different than things that are tasted or enjoyed by the tongue.
What about an extract? Someone sent me a sample of that. I want to try it.
It's a good thing to bring up to the table of harapet. I'm gonna excuse myself from the real. The reason why, for example, gelatin is allowed, the poskim will say it's allowed, is because it
Changed the
reached a
form.
place where it was no longer edible as food. And so Rav Moshe said, yeah, but now it is. You've taken it back into a gummy bear or back in. But we say once it lost its status, it lost its status.
Interesting.
You have to see the process that this goes through. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to tell you.
If you want to ask him, I can tell him the whole process.
Okay,
Interesting.
sure. So we could talk about it.
And also, if it's a medicine, no bracha, all that too.
We mentioned here at Talmid Chacham that reached the level of teaching halachot. I have a brother-in-law. Hashem should bless him with long life and a lot of health. He was the one who was in the car accident last year. Car accident. They still call it a car accident. you
Is
understand?
it doing better now?
An Arab crashed into him, reversed his car, and crashed into him a second time. It was a car accident. He's in Yerushalayim. He's still suffering tremendously from this experience.
Is he off crutches?
No, I don't think so. He's in and out of surgery every other week down here. New surgery, another surgery. It's like, all the kings, all the kings couldn't put Humpty together again. That's what it sounds like. This Yimach Shemo, this guy, he's now.
There's no video. They never video.
The police are very hesitant to call anything a terrorist attack because then they have to pay you as a victim of terror attacks. So they drag their legs about this in Israel forever.
And the metrics go up.
So
and
now what happened? This guy, of
the
course,
new terror.
doesn't have any kind of. He's upset now that he's being taken to court in Jerusalem. It happened in Jerusalem.
Oh.
Yeah, because he's going to be misrepresented because he's an Arab citizen. So he wants to go to court in an Arab village and wants my brother-in-law, the rabbi, to end up over there going to court because it will be biased against him. That's what they're dealing with right now. Okay, so that's not part of my story.
So the case hasn't
The
gone.
part of my story is my brother-in-law is one of the most brilliant Torah scholars I've ever met. And not because he's related to me. In fact, he wasn't always... but he's in the last 25 years sat and dedicated himself to study Torah day and night. You can ask him any Gemara in the world, he'll tell you where it happened, which page, where he's looking for. You ask him any Shulchan, any Halacha. In fact, he knows a little too much. And this is what I'm going to explain to you. I'm sitting with him here when he was in San Diego. And he tells me, he's jealous of me. I said, you're jealous of me, I'm jealous of you. And he said, because when you know all these different opinions, it becomes much more difficult to decide the Halacha. Because you always want to err on the side of caution, but then you find yourself erring on the side of caution of crazy things. Like, should I tell you a crazy thing? We got donuts. He doesn't know if he's allowed to eat a donut or not. Why not? Because some poskim say the things that are boiled in oil might be a hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So in order to eat a donut, he's going to have to wash his hands on bread. But there's a problem if you're just washing in order to eat something else. Because then the whole blessing in vain that you're making on the bread, only to eat a donut, and so he just doesn't eat donuts. Now that's interesting if that's one thing, but the whole life is like that. So you have to have a Talmid Chacham that is also on the level of comfort and knowledge to render halachic decisions. When I call Rav Peretz and I'll say, Rabbi, but don't you know there's another opinion? He says, of course I know, but it doesn't make a difference. The other opinion is wrong. In fact, when I picked up Rav Peretz for my wedding from JFK Airport, I was driving him back to, we were in the car, but I was driving him back to Borough Park where we were staying to get married. And we were talking about the laws of marriage, and Rabbi Yosef gave a famous letter of approval to his book on marriage, but he gave a whole other letter which had all kinds of critiques on the book in halakha. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi, that halakha that Rabbi Yosef disagreed with you.
I made a tower.
I'm so proud. Can you make another one for me? Thank you. And I said, Rabbi, do you remember? Can you tell me why Rabbi Yosef disagreed with you? He says, I don't remember. It's been a long time, but he was wrong anyway, so what are you wasting your time with it for? Now, if you didn't know him, you would think he was an arrogant person. But when you are in the shoes of a posek, you cannot take everything into account. Once you do, you'll end up always being crazy. Everything you're not allowed to do. Everything you have to worry about. Everything you have to... What can you do? At the end of the day, somebody has to live. What bracha do you make on a chocolate-covered raisin? We don't know. We're eating because of the chocolate, eating because of the raisin. So what you should do is you should have an apple, because then you solve the problem of making a blessing on a fruit of the tree. And then you should drink a cup of water, because then you took care of the chocolate, and now you can have your chocolate-covered raisins. You didn't answer the question. What blessing do you make on a chocolate-covered raisin? You just avoided the question. A person who answers such a question is a person who's afraid to take on their shoulders the responsibility. If someone's afraid to take on their shoulders the responsibility of what blessing you make on a chocolate-covered raisin, you have to question what other responsibilities they could take on their shoulders. After the Yom Kippur War, which we mentioned, After you want to,
Is this the same though as some Ashkenazim who will only eat rice if they make motzi on bread? Because
there's a custom like this. It's not a halakha. Shulchan Aruch
not
already
a-
tells you the blessing, what blessing you make on rice. But there's a custom, and those who have that custom, I respect it. I'm not fighting it, but it's not what the Shulchan Aruch says.
So it's not an example of avoiding a decision.
Well, it is an example of avoiding a decision, but a big rabbi told him to avoid that decision. I generally don't put out disapproval on big rabbis. And when I was telling you about the raisins, when after the Yom Kippur War, I'll end with this one. After the Yom Kippur War, you had this situation, like I mentioned before. Literally thousands of dead bodies of people who were married. And now you have to find a way for their wives to get remarried. Some people come home, you could recognize them, you know what they look like, they have a dog tag. But then there were halakhic questions. What happens if a person, Hashem should save us from ever seeing such a situation? I know because in my family we had such stories. What happens if somebody's flesh is completely burnt off? They were in a tank that was blown up. And the only thing that is left is a bone from somebody's neck, and on it is attached a dog tag that was melted to it. Can you trust that the dog tag melted onto that neck is actually the same dog tag as the person who died? Or do you say maybe he was a prisoner of war and you don't know and this woman can never get remarried? Now when these questions came back from the battlefield, there were serious halakhic decisions that had to be made because women could not get married for the rest of their lives. And the only rabbi willing to take this on his shoulders was Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. He literally didn't sleep for day and night trying to solve these questions. Everyone had to come up. You can't just, oh yeah, it's okay, that's okay. You're talking here, what happens if, God forbid, in the next prisoner exchange, Mr. Greenberg comes back, and his wife is remarried, and she has 3 children from another marriage, and all of those children are considered illegitimate children that can never marry a Jewish person for the rest of time. These are big questions you take on your shoulders. There's a chief rabbi of Israeli intelligence. Do you know that? Because you can't bring every question you have to the chief rabbi of Israel. He's not cleared. He doesn't have security clearance. The Mossad has a chief rabbi. I don't know who he is. I don't know. And he has to answer questions. What happens if one of our spies and who knows where gets kidnapped and we'd have no way to know? Can his wife, who's living in Tel Aviv, can she get married? What do we do then? There's so many things that go on behind the scenes that we don't even know about. These are important, real halachic situations. And we have, Baruch Hashem, great rabbis that deal with these situations. And these are the people that need to pray the most because they're dealing with things. It's not. So, is the parsha, was Yosef's jacket blue or was it green? That was not the question they're dealing with. They're dealing here with questions that have direct impact on people's lives. And we bless them. We pray for them also. That when they deal those things, that's why the prayer ends. And I pray for my friends. I pray that they should also never make mistakes in halakha. And God willing, Hashem will guide us. God and I, you should open our eyes. And I will see only wonders inside of your Torah.